Welcome to the San Gorgonio Chapter's Trail Talk series. My name is John St. Clair, and I am your Zoom host. And this evening's Trail Talk presentation is going to be a wonderful one about Patagonia. And next month, we have a Trail Talk presentation done by the Girl Scouts, which should be interesting as well. And there's a few ground rules I want to go over that we're going to follow in this Zoom session. First of all, everybody should be muted except for the speaker. So if you haven't muted, I'm going to check. It looks like everybody is muted. That's good. If you have questions, please write those questions in the chat section. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you should see a talking bubble icon with the word chat under it. If you click on it, it opens up a little window, and the default is send to everyone, which is fine. And Julianne always does a great job of monitoring that chat section and relaying questions to the speaker. Sometimes while the presentation is being done, if there's a natural stopping point, but certainly at the end, all your questions will eventually get answered. So one other thing I should mention, it's spring is here. And so be checking the outings calendar, because there will be a lot of hikes being posted soon. And there's not a whole lot up there now, but there will be some hikes being posted soon as for both spring and summer. So lots of opportunities to get out and be outside and get some exercise. And we just had a leadership training course this last Saturday, and we have a number of new prospective leaders that are interested in doing short hikes, which we haven't had a lot of lately. So there'll be more of a variety of hikes this summer, I think, than what we've had before, which I think is a good thing. So at this point, I would like to introduce Julianne Anderson, and I'm going to add her spotlight so we're both up here. And Julianne is a member of the Trail Talk Committee, and she does most of the recruiting of the speakers, and is also outings leader and is now co-chair of the chapter's outings committee. She is the San Gorgonio Chapter outings co-chair. So she's taken on more responsibility in Sierra Club. We thank her very much for doing that, me especially. And she tonight is going to introduce our speakers. So I'm going to remove my spotlight, and I'm going to add the spotlight of our speaker as she introduces.
Oh, thank you, John. Very, very sweet. Good evening, everyone. As John mentioned, I'm Julianne Anderson. Before we introduce, I just want to reiterate John's lovely call for all of us to get outside. The warm weather is upon us. Our outings hike deadline for the next couple of months is May 1st. So check the website. There will be a variety of hikes, and John's not kidding. We've got a lot of people who are starting to submit those. So let's all get outside and enjoy the fine weather in our beautiful area as we transition from desert hiking up into the mountains. With that, and I did want to mention too, our training on Saturday was wonderful. We had, I believe it was 14, wasn't it, John?
Well,
12. We had a just a classroom full of eager outings leader recruits, and the quality of the teaching was really very good. And we had a action-packed day of training. So look for more outings leaders over the next few months, and we will be conducting our provisional hikes with them. So new things are going to be hitting the website. We'll be conducting the Outings Leader training again in September. So we're going to be doing this every 6 months. So if you are interested in being an Outings Leader, join us and get some training, and we will be on our way. That said, one of our intrepid Outings Leaders, Mr. Joe Amador, is with us this evening to tell us about his spectacular trip to South America and Patagonia. Joe is a retired teacher. He now spends his time hiking and traveling, and always enjoys leading and joining Sierra Club hikes. So with that, Joe, take it away. Take us to Patagonia.
Thank you, Julianne and John. Let me go ahead and bring my screen up. This trip, I did it in January 9th of this year. And it was just a fantastic adventure for me. It took 35 days, and I visited 5 different countries. I'm saying Patagonia on the fly because a lot of it was just getting down there and seeing what was available. I did plan out the days, but some days I just went with the flow. I hired guides and went on excursions. Can everybody see the screen okay? Okay,
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Patagonia, it takes a large part of South America there. It's split between Chile and Argentina. And my trip took me to, I landed in Buenos Aires, and I also went to Brazil, I went to Uruguay, Paraguay, went to Iguazu Falls, which is fantastic, in northern part of Argentina, and also part of Brazil. But one of the main goals was to go to Patagonia. And it didn't take up the entire trip. That's why it was only 11 days. But I tried to see as much as I could in those 11 days. Patagonia, it takes up the entire, almost southern section of South America. It's split between 2 countries, Chile and Argentina. And for a long time, the border between these 2 countries was very vague. People didn't know whether they were in Chile or they were Argentina. In 1881, one of the explorers in that area, Dr. Perito Moreno, he worked on an agreement between the 2 countries. They never went to war over it. It was just, they thought it was a frozen land, barren land, and very sparsely populated. And there wasn't much sense to fight over. But, there was so much confusion of where the border lies. So they just sat down together and drew lines. And if you look at the lines between Chile and Argentina, it doesn't really make sense. But if you think about it, they both get the best parts of it. Well, Argentina had Ushuaia at the very bottom. Chile ended up with Tierra del Fuego, and along the western shores. So it's very fair to both countries. And there's still confusion. This happened in 1881, but there were still, in the 90s, there were still cities that really didn't know who they belonged to. My trip took me to Patagonia. It's the southernmost section. And the name Patagonia came from the Spanish when they saw the indigenous people that lived there. They were very tall to begin with. And they gave them the name of a mythical giant, Patagones, and from the original inhabitants. And they're no longer there. There's no indigenous people left in this area. They just didn't make it over the colonization period. But they still have displays and museums and some of the artifacts, and a lot of the names of some of the places still reflect this indigenous history. There's 2 ways to get there. Well, actually, there's more ways than that, but there's 2 major ways. One, go to Chile. You land in Santiago and take a plane into Punta Arenas, which is down about this area right here. And the way I did it, though, I went to Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires was my hub. This is where I did all my travels from. From Buenos Aires to El Calafate. I took a plane and took about 3 hours flight, and that used El Calafate as my major stopping point. From there, I took buses and traveled to the different places. You can see the Patagonia on the mountains on the side there. The Andes. Landed in a little small airport in El Calafate. The airport's really interesting. There was the only flight that came in during that time period, so you didn't see a lot of planes flying in and out. You could rent cars at that spot there, and there was a shuttle you can arrange also. Most people got their taxis already waiting to get into town. By the way, the shuttle service was really efficient. That's what I took into my B&B. I got the return trip and the trip down there all in one price. It was a pretty good price, $11 for both. And on the day they picked me up, they were right on time, brought me back to the airport right on time. Very efficient. El Calafate, Argentina. This is the major stopping point on the Argentinian side of Patagonia. It's a small little city. You see the trees. Most of those trees were built when they first started this city. They were imported as windbreaks. Very little trees. If you go to Patagonia, it's just barren of trees other than in the mountains. In the mountains, you'll see the trees, but out in the steppe area, none. Very little. This was a B&B I stayed in. Very nice. It was had the birds out in the yard as you woke up in the morning and see them. They're called banduras. This was just after Christmas, so they had these still decorations out there. Very nice. I'm gonna go back. Anyway, this is the hotel I stayed in when I came back to El Calafate. It was a very nice little place. And all the prices there in El Calafate were pretty reasonable in terms of prices. From the hill where I stayed in, you can see the little town. You see, it's not huge, with the mountains in the background and Lago Argentina. What I did in the morning, I would walk down to the city. It was about almost a mile to get to the city. The bus station was very close. Very touristy. You could a lot of restaurants, places to stay, a lot of outfitters. It was geared toward travelers and hikers and campers. I called before to the places I stayed at and asked them, do I have to reserve excursions? They recommended I do that just in case it sells out. And January is the high season. It's their summer. So I did reserve some excursions and trips, but when you go down there, there's all these places that you can go and arrange them. You can see here, no disponible, that means it's not available. But a lot of places were. So it was a matter of just walking in, and if you want to go someplace, you just tell them. Another way to do that is go to the bus station. The bus station will take you to a lot of these places. A lot cheaper also. El Calafate is right in the middle of this large area. It's off the Route 40, which is called the main highway. From there, you can take a bus to go to El Chalten, which is the hiking capital of Argentina. And to the south, about 5 hours on a bus, you go to Puerto Natales, which is one of the main areas for Parque Nacional Torres del Paine. And that's the famous Torres del Paine National Park, where all the Instagram pictures are made, towers, and just the fantastic place. But this is on the Chilean side. The green here or this side here is the Chilean side. It takes about 3 hours to get to El Chalten and 5 hours to get to Puerto Natales. One of the delays is when you cross the border. If you're crossing on a bus, you have to get out of the bus, go through customs, and then get back on the bus and go to Puerto Natales. Same on the way back also. I did it on the way back. So El Calafate, it's also part of the Parque Nacional Glaciers Park, Great Glaciers National Park. It stretches all the way from El Calafate all the way up to El Chalten. It's a huge national park. Some 62 glaciers. Um, Here they had a botanical garden with trees, a history of the Patagonia area, a little museum. It was free. Also, there was a nice little nature preserve that you can walk to from town. It was just about a 2 mile hike into the preserve. It was about $6 to get in. Nice little bird sanctuary. From here, you walk into the park itself. Little estuaries. This is Lago Argentina. It's the largest lake in Argentina, second largest in South America. The largest one is Lake Titicaca. And we'll see Lago Argentina later on as we travel here because it's just a huge lake. On the outside of the little nature preserve, you can walk around into the plants. And notice, you see all these pictures here, very little trees. It's all low vegetation, little estuaries, the water coming in from the lake, and the Andes in the background. So from El Calafate, I took the bus to, it was still in the same park, national park, to El Chalten, which is they call it the trekking capital of Argentina. The mountains in the background there is Mount Fitzroy, Cerro Fitzroy. Fitzroy was the captain of the Beagle, of Charles Darwin's Beagle, and they named that particular peak in his honor. It's just a beautiful peak, and all the time I was there, though, it was just covered with clouds. But it's a destination. El Chalten, Argentina. It's the hiking capital of Argentina. Again, the trails, a very barren area, hiking into it. Fitzroy in the background there. And here you can see a good picture of El Chalten. It's not a big city, it's a little town, but it's geared towards hikers, backpackers, campers to hike back into these lakes back here. From here you can hike into the base of the mountain, or you can even go to the mountain if you camp out. The nice thing about this area here, there's a lot of places to camp if you want to camp. There's B&Bs, there's little inns, hostels, a lot of places to stay, a lot of restaurants, nice little restaurants, all reasonably priced. The camping, if you want to camp inside this park here, it's free. It's a little bit different than when you would if you go into on the Chilean side. Yeah, there you have to make reservations. It's the most popular area, so you do have to make reservations ahead of time. But this one here is very easy to get around. There is the bus station there is centrally located. From there you can go. They'll take you to the trails. Another view of the hiking back there in El Chalten. This is on the outside. Low vegetation. Capital Nacional de Trekking. So this is the national capital of the trekking in Argentina. Again, it's a small town. All these little buildings out here are mostly inns and hostels. They have a camping area that you can camp in if you want to camp. The buses come here regularly. A lot of restaurants. This is the main street. So there's not much to do other than go hiking and camping from here. But just magnificent trails. Here is from the shuttles. You can go start at one end, go to the other. They recommend for lunch having one place. You see the little campsites that they recommend. There's little hostels you can stay, places to take it. And this is Monte Fitzroy. That's the big mountain there. over Captain Fitzroy. Came to Patagonia in 1834 with Charles Darwin. You can walk to the base here from the town. You can also stay overnight. And some people go up to the peak. This is on all trails also. If you want to see the trails, you can just click on it, get all trails, and it'll tell you how to get there. They have one from, somebody was there last week, and there's snow on the trail up here in this area. They're using microspikes. It's just a lovely little town. I asked the guide that took me out there, how many days did he recommend? He said about 4 to 5 days. A little more if you're camping. But it's a 4 to 5 day trip just in this little town here. And here you can see the little peaks, Mount Fitzroy, and all the other little peaks in that area. The different lakes, little mountain lakes in that. This is another little trail. You can go from the town, you can walk to it. And it's a waterfall. There are a lot of waterfalls in that area. This is one that's just right out of town. Just walk right to it. Saw people driving in, buses, and the little trail walk to it. Had a little sprinkles and rain when I was there. It was January, about the 13th, something like that. Nice weather though. This, now from El Calafate, I took a bus to Glacier Perito Moreno. And that was named after Perito Moreno, who kind of did a lot of explorations in that area and also worked out the treaty between Chile and Argentina to put the dividing lines in there. And he named some of those peaks. He was the one that named Fitzroy. This particular park is right at the base of the glaciers. So they have a big visitor center. You can have dinner, lunch, and they have metal trails that you can walk. You can also rent the boat to get to the base of the glaciers. But I didn't rent the boat. All I did was just walk the different trails. It's about 5 miles total. And they have different levels of easy, more difficult. And that's the Perito Glacier. This is one of the few glaciers that is not advancing nor receding. It basically is static. What it loses in calving, it gains in water. So it really hasn't changed that much. But just a magnificent glacier. And there's the Perito Moreno Peak up in the background there. And at least you see a boat at the bottom. They take you pretty close to it. The reason I didn't get the boat is because I wanted to walk all the little trails there to see the glacier from just different angles. And if you get the boat, it takes up a lot of your time. You're going to head and get the bus back. So that was my reasoning. It was very loud. I recorded a video. You can hear the sound of it calving, the ice crashing onto the ocean, the water there. Not the ocean, sorry. This is the other side. Gives you an example of the metal trails and railings. Notice all the trees on this side. As you get up into the hills and the mountains, you do see the vegetation changes. You'll see trees now, oaks. In one section, there's just one species of oaks, just covering the hillsides. No other trees, just those. And icebergs going. This part here is on that would be the east side of the glacier, and it's floating out into Lago Argentina, the lake that was over in El Chalten. This water, this glacier feeds that. So this is where the water comes from that. There's other rivers too, but this is what the main water source for that. You get a good picture of the trails, go up and down, all around. And go back to the bus station. This is the bus station at El Calafate. Um, I really enjoyed the buses. They have they were really efficient. They were very easy to book. Um, you didn't have to, get there 3 hours ahead of time. You could take your gear on the bus. It takes you everywhere, and pretty simple um, ways to do things. This is the bus station for Bus Sur, the South Bus. And from here, this is El Calafate. You can go to the glacier. You can go to the airport. You can go to Torres del Paine in Chile, Ushuaia at the very bottom of South America, Bariloche, which is a little northern town. It'll take you to Fitzroy. El Chalten it gives you the times. Very inexpensive. Um, my my one regret is I didn't go down to Ushuaia. I could have taken the bus. It would have been, I think it's 12 hours to get there on the bus. You can fly, but it's just a different experience going down there. The little code here, that's where if you're going to Chile, you have to load a statement that you're not taking any fruits or vegetables. It's very strict. You can't take anything into Chile. It's a very agricultural centered country, and they don't want anything messing up with their. It's very much like California. They don't want their agricultural industry threatened. The bus going towards Chile. Again, this is a harsh, cold environment, very windy. The entire time I was there is just, the best description is just windswept. In El Calafate, sometimes the wind would be so strong the sand would blow in your face. Nothing much, no trees survive they have difficulty surviving because during the winter, it's freezing cold. And my trip was to Puerto Natales, Chile. This is called the Gateway to Torres del Paine National Park. Another small town, living under harsh conditions. I enjoyed this one here. It's a voluntary contribution for the dogs. See the big dog laying here? This is a public area, but the dogs are just laying on there. You'll see this type of dog. I mean, they're large, furry dogs wandering all around either El Calafate and also Puerto Natales. You don't see little dogs. These are big dogs that need to stand the winter. And Puerto Natales is the gateway towards Torres del Paine. And this is pretty much a small map of the different ways and different trails in the national park. There's a hotel there that you can stay in, pretty expensive, but it's at the base of one of the trails. A lot of lakes, Lago Azul, Lago Amargo, Blue Lake, Sour Lake, Bitter Lake, Lago Paine. A lot of different. This is Puerto Natales. Again, small town. This is not the main street. The main street, there's not much difference. A lot of hostels, hotels, motels, not motels so much, but not so much camping in this particular town, as opposed to El Calafate or El Chalten, which actually has places where you can actually go camping. This one, not so much. The price, now we're in Chile, the prices were a little bit different. A little more expensive. The meals, the lodging. I didn't put a picture of the place I stayed in because I really didn't care for it that much. It was a nice place, very expensive, but there were better places. The thing to remember if you're staying in these little towns, it's best to stay close to town so you can walk in for dinners and breakfast and things like that, as opposed to having to get a taxi to bring you. It's some of the places that we I went on a bus to excursion, so we'd have to go pick up places and customers and other travelers at different hotels, and some were really out there. I was surprised. I mentioned the dogs. It's one thing you notice because it's so obvious that, they're wandering around. In some cases, they build little shelters for them. During the winter, it's just so harsh. This was summer, and it was just cold and windy. This is an old dock coming off the lake near Puerto Natales. It's you'll see this picture in a lot of postcards. Um, they like to get it during sunset, uh, sunrise. So you see the different colors in the background, clear lights. It's just beautiful. Walking along the lake there, or the shore. They This is a monument to the wind. Chilean Republic, Patagonia. 17 national parks, huge investment by the country to put national parks and to preserve this area. They've actually connected trails from maybe one trail all the way from the northern part there to the southern part, so you can actually hike it. The one I went to is Torres del Paine National Park. It's right here on the side here. My also biggest regret is not going to Puerto Arenas, and Puerto Arenas is right below it. It's about it was $11. Could go there, and it's a 2-hour drive on a bus, and it's closer to the ice flows, things like that. And you get good views of it. There's a military station there. The place when you go from the Chilean side, which a lot of people do because they're going Torres del Paine, they'll go in Santiago, Chile, and fly into Puerto Natales, and then take the bus into no, I'm sorry, Punta Arenas, and then they'll take a bus into Puerto Natales. But here's also a good example where Tierra del Fuego, that's on the Chilean side, and Ushuaia is on the Argentinian side. And if you look at the little L there, that's how they divided the country. They split it right along the side there. So each country has, the wonders of this area on both sides. So they can equally share just how great this country is, this area, this part of the world. So into Torres del Paine, the national park there, it encompasses a lot of big rivers, lakes, and a lot of hiking opportunities. When people say they're going to Patagonia, this is normally what they're talking about. They're going to Torres del Paine. For this, you have to buy a pass to go into the park. You also have to buy, if you're camping there, make camping reservations, tents, the hostels, the places to stay. It was so windy when I was taking this picture. My knit hat that was on my head that just flew off, came right off my head. Lago Gray. Each of these little lakes have a little name, and some of them have places to stay, camping. I booked 2 excursions. One that they took me to the different places. I saw the different lakes. I saw the caves, and a good example of just that whole Torres del Paine National Park in that area. So they would stop, take pictures, explain some of the lakes, the differences between them. This is one of the lodges in the park. There's a restaurant in there. There's places to sleep, bunk beds, things like that. In the back, there's tent areas. You can rent the tents to stay in there. This is Lago Gray. And there's a pathway, a trail to go into the lake on the backside. You hear about 2 different ways to hike in Torres del Paine. One of them is the O and also the W path. A friend of ours did the W a couple years ago, and they camped. They made reservations ahead of time, stayed in tents, and then when the weather got too difficult, they went into the tents the tents that are already pre-made here. Lago Gray. And at the cafeteria, have a coffee shop. They also have places to sleep. One of the places we stopped in, this is right outside the park, was the Milodon Cave. Milodon is it's like a sloth, a giant sloth. And they found the remains in these caves here. And in this particular excursion, they only took me to the one cave. But you can take the bus to the monument and hike there's three different caves. You can all hike from that one location into the other caves. But just magnificent caves. And the visitor center had examples of Milodon. Okay, we talked about the hiking in Torres del Paine. This is the W. You can just be able to see how it shapes up into like a W. The O goes around this. And you'll notice the camping areas. The one I did, we started at the visitor center and walked to the Pinus area, which is up here towards the top. Notice all the little camping sites. These you have to reserve ahead of time, even the ones at the lodges. The Chilean law is right here, about halfway, Chileno. And there's camping areas there. There's also hostels you can stay in bunks. And the prices will vary. This is the trail to the towers. Extremely windy. There were some there's some ladies that were very petite, and they were having a lot of difficulty going up this hill with the wind. And the guide he had to run back and basically sheltered them to get them past the one windy point. Just a beautiful little valley here the river that we're crossing a couple times. This is the Chileno spot. A restaurant in here. They have you can get your coffee and buy more supplies. And in the back is the lodging. You can rent bunk beds. I think they have some singular rooms that you can rent. This is the major stopping point before people can start up the hill to the towers. Some people here are backpacking to camp up in that area up there. Some are just going for day trips. An example of some of the tents that you can rent, tent spots. These are off the ground. Climb up, sleep in the area here. One of the things I liked about when I flew in from El Calafate, from Buenos Aires to El Calafate, it was $238 round trip, and they let you take check bags in. So I was able to take my backpack with me. Some of these flights sometimes will charge you extra for bags, and this one was included. And you really need to take your extra equipment with you. You can rent at those little towns, Puerto Natales, El Calafate, Chaltén. There's always places you can rent camping equipment. But the basics, your jackets and things like that, if you want to carry, it's a lot of bulk. Sometimes you have to carry with you. And the road up to the tower, the trail back to the towers, you cross a couple bridges. Notice the trees. Now you're going into the higher altitude, and you will have trees now. A lot of shade in this one area. Crossing the river. And there's the towers. You have the lake, and these are the famous towers of Torres del Paine. it was a conga line going up to the top. There's a lot of people. It's a very popular trail. You have the campers, you have the day trippers. Um, it's easy to get to in terms of the bus will drop you off at the visitor center. From there, you can hike into it. It was 22 kilometers, which is about what, 12 miles. Um, and like I say, it was a conga line going up, but it was worth it. And we got there, it was just visible by in a couple hours the towers was covered with by the clouds. And you see people just taking their pictures. They take turns. Everybody was very polite. Everybody got a chance to take pictures there. This was the main spot. There was another one behind. And the camping area is further on over. This was my goal was to hit this spot, and all the camping and trails. There were two things I wanted to see in this area. One was, of course, the glacier, and then the towers. On the way back, you had the buses. You can see the wildlife. These are rheas, which are like the ostrich family, just going wild out there. We did not see pumas, mountain lions. This area has one of the highest concentration of mountain lions in the world. Because of this, there's wild herds, food wandering around. And this was the biggest one, the guanacos. I did not get very good pictures of them because I was taking it on the fly. And but the guanaco, you can see them all over. It's a camelid. Looks a lot like the llamas, and they're used for food, but they're wild. That at one point they were hunted so much that they were almost endangered, but they made a big comeback. This is the main food source for the mountain lions. The babies, there's fences along the road there, and a lot of times it's the babies that get caught in the fence. And the reason you see the mountain lions is because they go after the ones that are caught. And from here, went back to El Calafate, enjoyed my time there, then flew back to Buenos Aires. A lot of you can order an excursion, a trip, guided tours to Patagonia. But I enjoyed the way I did it because I was able to spend some time in Buenos Aires, which I just loved that city. And it was a good point where you can travel to other countries from there. Unfortunately, you have to usually you're flying. The train system is not really complete. Other than that, it's long bus rides. But like I said, I really enjoyed the buses. They did a good job. They're on time. They're clean. The bathroom was bigger than an airplane bathroom. So I would do it again with the buses to go from one place to another. And this is, people always ask, how much did I spend? The one thing I did not include in here was transportation to South America, because that'll vary. Whether you're flying into Chile or you're flying into Buenos Aires, the prices are going to vary. Right now, you can go in the winter. I think Google Flights has them for $666 or $599 to fly there. I got a good deal. I use miles with a little bit of cash, so it was a good deal for me to go down there. The biggest excursion was, or the biggest price was the flight to El Calafate from Buenos Aires, and of course lodging. It's not cheap unless you're camping, in that which case you're it's one thing or another. It's camping out into in a tent, or you're staying in an nice B&B. There's the places range from really good prices to very expensive. Chile's a lot more expensive. Argentina is going through some inflation, and it's hard to say. I went to Argentina 3 times the weekend because it was my base, And each time I went, I ordered the same thing, and each time the price went up. So it's a different price of in terms of every 2 weeks. So it's terrible if you're living there. But like I say, you can get some good deals on certain places. The shuttles and the buses were good price. The excursions, it was a matter of I used Get Your Guide, and they were pretty much on time. They always called me ahead of time, told me what I needed. Park fees. In Argentina, there wasn't any charge to get into the national parks. There were charges for the parks in Chile, and most of those you did ahead of time. In Torres del Paine, you can buy a ticket for a 3 day. So if you're going there for a couple of days, you buy one ticket and it lasts you 3 days. Food, lodging. Like I say, you can cut that down if you go with tents and camping. But it's pretty much you can go and buy an excursion. People, they sell them all the time at different travel companies and guided tours, and they'll take care of a lot of things for you in terms of park fees, get you around with the shuttle, so it's included. But it's I thought it was a good deal for me. Okay, any questions?
Yeah.
Oh boy, do we ever. We've got a bunch. Okay. I think, shall I start?
Sure.
We had questions about budget, and you already kind of covered that, but I did want to ask you, and posted this later on, how much would a like a one night stay at a good B&B run?
Well, like I say, the $800 and some included my food and staying in
Yeah.
some nice B&Bs, but also some that were not as nice. And it was it was under 1,000 for 11 days.
So
Which,
what would like $75 get you in terms of a B&B?
oh, that would probably be about. I stayed in a place that the breakfast wasn't very good. Had problems with the plumbing.
Okay.
But the picture I showed, the B&B there, that was about 120,
Okay.
and it was very nice. And they had a great breakfast. It was run by a family. The grandma was there, and all the kids were working it. Just wonderful. The other place was Picos del Sur. It's a regular hotel, a smaller hotel. They had a nice breakfast, very nice place to stay in, and that ran about I would say about 140. I booked them all through Booking.com.
Okay.
So I was able to, with that, the only reason it's a little bit more usually instead of calling them direct, but I like the advantage of being able to cancel within a certain number of days. And you read reviews. And pretty much they're spot on,
Right.
the two I stayed.
Brilliant. What's the hiking culture like in Chile and Argentina? Are you seeing a lot of organized groups, commercial groups? Are there any Sierra Club like clubs, or is it mostly individuals?
A lot of individuals. There, you remember the picture of the hikers. Some were with groups, some were with guided tours. So they would book a company in town, and they pick them up in a van, and they'd all go together and have a guide with them. And so you can see those groups. You saw the leaders, trying to herd people together and keep them together, things like that. And there were a lot of people just on their own. You go into restaurants and sit and talking and say, yeah, they're on their own. They're just a couple, or yeah, a couple on their own, people solos.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to do. It really is. Like I say, you can go down there, fly down there, get a hotel if you want. Go to the tourist places, look on the board, see what they have available, walk in. How can I get there? You don't even need that really. You can go to the bus station. Take me to El Chalten, and you get there in 3 hours. If you have a place to stay, and then from there you can get a map, trail, all trails, and you go to the trails from there. Some
I
of them
have
you
a
can walk
question.
directly from town.
So, Joe, how important is it to know how to speak Spanish? I mean, you did a lot of stuff on your own. Would
Yeah.
it be hard for someone who didn't speak Spanish to do what you did?
Well, there were a lot of people there who didn't speak Spanish. There, if especially if you go on with the groups, a lot of them don't, and the guides do speak. A lot of the guys do speak English. Um, so they're used to people going down there as tourists. That's the main industry there. That's what they're, the restaurants, the hotels, the little B&Bs. They do have Airbnb there. Uh, so it's really not that much of an issue. I spoke Spanish, so I tried to speak as much Spanish as I could, and I didn't have a problem. But even when you're sitting next to somebody on a bus, they're from another country. They're from all over the world, and you get in a discussion like I met people from South Africa, England, um, Mexico, all over. It wasn't so much of an issue in Buenos Aires. Most of the places that cater to tourists, like hotels and things like that, there was no problem going around. In fact, Buenos Aires was one of the easiest countries in terms of the taxi. If you get the official taxis at the airport, and also when going from one place to another, they go very strictly by the meter, so you can see how much it's going to be.
Right. What kind of wildlife did you see besides what you described, the llama-like and the emu-like uh, animals? Was there other wildlife, foxes, small?
No, there are foxes there. They're very rare to see. People say that the puma, you can see them every now and then, but we didn't see any. And didn't see any as we were driving by. The it's There's deer there, but it's I can't emphasize how barren it was in terms of people, animals, trees. It's a harsh environment, windy, cold in the summer, and I can't imagine it being in the winter. It's just bitter cold. But there's some people that like that. There's some people that really enjoy that type of an environment to go visit. The uh, the people that live there, they get by with how the industry there, the fishing industry that's in some of the ports, but a lot of it is tourists that drive, backpackers and hikers.
Um, Interesting that they were honoring the captain of the Beagle. Was it just because of his scientific work with Darwin, or was he doing
Yes, yeah,
geographic surveys?
yeah, Darwin did a lot of some of the travels in the the Magellan Straits. The So he was very instrumental in some of the discoveries there, the identification of animals.
Mhm.
So he did a lot there. So they're honoring that portion of it.
Right, right. What's the average elevation of where you hiked?
It's actually pretty low. I think I put something in there that the pine it's something like 3,000, close to 4,000 feet, and the tower that's about the highest, and the towers, of course, are higher than that. But it's not like the high Sierras where you're really going, just keep going and going and going up. These are rock formations that rise from, you have lakes close by, things like that. The ice flows that really cut into it.
What's the camping culture like? Do people go and rent some of these elevated canvas tent cabins, or
Yes, yes,
are
yes.
they pitching their own little backpacking tents, or
Both.
does anyone have an RV in the area? Do you see any of that?
No RVs. It
Yeah.
was funny. As I said, you could rent a car, and I was kind of surprised. It's kind of how easy it is to drive there because there's not a lot of traffic. Uh, you can rent a car and travel all around, and it's not a crazy traffic in terms of just a multitude of cars there. It was pretty nice. The only thing I would be concerned about, of course, is making sure you don't pay for pitted windows because it was so windy, unbelievably windy.
Yeah, yeah. Um, did they say anything about the glacier that you were highlighting about why it was not receding?
Oh, because it adds with the water and the rain, it keeps adding onto it.
Okay.
And what it loses, it gains. It's one of the few, I think there's only two in South America that are actually like that. The others are receding.
Okay. Interesting.
Slowly, but they're receding.
What camera did you take?
I was making my my old Samsung.
Good.
Yeah.
Very nice. Beautiful shots. Beautiful shots.
It's hard to take a bad picture. It's just everywhere you look. It's just lakes and peaks.
Yeah.
The only problem, of course, is the clouds. Cloud covers. It covers the towers. It covers Fitzroy. I was sad about that. I really would love like taking a good picture of Fitzroy. And if I go back, I think I'd spend more time in El Chaltén and go and maybe try and camp out there at the lake at the base of it, and then go down to Ushuaia at the very bottom to Tierra del Fuego.
What was the exchange rate with the Chilean and the Argentine currency?
It was more expensive in Chile. The exchange rate is almost, well, pretty close to the dollar in terms of, you're looking at things that, oh yeah, that's about how much I would pay for a meal in the United States. No, not in California, but pretty much. And it's still cheaper. Argentina is an entirely different situation. It's like I say, the prices went up almost weekly on certain items, and it's really having a tough time. They in some cases they prefer the dollar because they're trying to switch over into the dollar. It's kind of sad because the wages weren't keeping up, so a very difficult time. But the people were friendly, gracious, never had any problems, and actually in any of the countries I went, they were very willing to talk about the economic situation, politics. It wasn't that they shied away from anything.
So Argentina is having a rougher time economically than Chile?
Yes, it has for a long time. Chile is very, very stable. So is Uruguay. And Brazil is turning around a lot in terms of their economic status. So, but they're still having a lot of problems in Brazil.
Yeah.
But Uruguay and Chile, it's very stable economies in terms of what's going on there.
Is January high summer in the area, or are February, March warmer?
January is the best time. It's summer.
Okay.
Like I say, their summer is different than our summers here. It was very hot in Buenos Aires, but I did get rain. I did not get any rain in Patagonia. There was just a couple times where just light sprinkles, things like that. On the cloud covers, you get a few drops, but very little rain. And if you look at the Argentinian side, the pictures I showed, it shows it doesn't get a lot of rain. There's not a lot of plants. The Chilean side was a little bit different, more lush, but it's closer to the shore. It's a narrow distance from the ocean to the ridge, so it was greener.
Western Andes versus Eastern Andes, I guess.
Right, correct. But the temperatures were very nice, like I said, but in the Argentinian side, it was very cold, very, very windy.
What's the cuisine like in the area?
Oh, wonderful! If you like
favorite
meat.
dishes, recommendation?
If you like meat, it's wonderful.
Yeah. Was it beef or was it some of the local meat?
It's beef, chicken, the main.
Got it.
Main things there. I did try the guanaco. Of course, I had to try the guanaco.
Right.
It was okay. It was okay.
Yeah.
But you see, it's the tourists will buy that, the guanaco burgers, things like that.
Yeah.
I didn't partake of high cuisine, except in Buenos Aires. I did not go to a nice restaurant, but everything else was more food to eat on the road. Empanadas, a lot of empanadas. But they do like the meat sandwiches, different things like that, choripans, sandwiches.
So in Chile, how much would basic lunch cost you?
Oh, for a while there, I wasn't even keeping track of what the exchange rate. I was just because I was used to just paying the pesos and paying with the Chilean pesos and things like that.
Right.
But it really wasn't. I had two good meals in Chile, at Chilean restaurants, and I would say I spent about maybe $12 for good fish dinners. You know, it's pretty nice with some wine and some with a beer.
Nice. Nice.
And you say like anywhere, you can go in a good restaurant and have a nice meal, a pretty reasonable price. And then you can also eat it with sandwiches and empanadas a lot, which are
Mhm.
very inexpensive.
Good to know. Good to know. What's a breakfast like there?
Usually it's like uh, croissants or some type of bread, uh, things like that with coffee.
Okay.
I didn't really have a lot. At the B&B, the lady there made the grandma, you know, she made a very nice breakfast. They had eggs, scrambled eggs, you know, the normal um, things like that with some veggies.
Right.
There a lot of tourists there, so you have a lot of that American type breakfast, you know,
Sure.
scrambled eggs
Sure.
and potatoes.
Fish much?
Oh my gosh, yes, I tried to eat as much fish as I could, and
Hmm.
it's delicious. You know,
Hmm.
most of it local.
Yeah. All those lakes
Yeah,
plus the
yeah,
coast.
yeah, close to the coast.
Yeah. Well, you're getting a lot of complimentary comments here.
But
So
I
thank you.
highly recommend if you know, you can go with a tour excursion, book it,
Yeah.
or like say you can just go down there and see what you like.
Yeah. Yeah. Fun. And I think people really enjoyed your presentation.
Oh, thank you.
And there's another question. What's the temperature variation from day to night?
Um, there was a big difference. Once the night came, it got pretty cold. Yeah, so I took a down jacket, which I used almost all the time, and but in the midday, especially in El Calafate, which is in the city or the town, I hate to call it a city, but you know, it's hot. I was walking around with almost a t-shirt. Okay, and Buenos Aires, of course, is very hot. It got real hot in that area, but it's more north.
Was it windy at night as well as the daytime in Patagonia?
Yes, I did hear some winds, but it's mostly during the day, and a lot of it had to do with, of course, rise temperature, air pressure. And what they were telling me was, it's during the summer you get a lot of the winds because the air pressure changes so much. In the winter, there's very little wind actually, but it's just so freezing cold. You know, below zero temperatures.
So how cold would it get at night? I mean, if you're camping out, you got to have really warm gear.
Oh, you know what? If you've been to High Sierras, I don't think it's that much difference.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, of course, you know, we in California we get kind of cooler or it's a little bit warmer at night. But um, if you're looking at something like, you know, Montana, even Canada, it's a little more extreme. That's why I say it's really good if you're going to travel down there, be able to take your winter clothes with you, windbreakers, your down equipment. And you saw a picture of some of the campers that were there. They're going pretty light in terms of, you know, the ones that are staying with in tents.
Mhm.
I wouldn't uh, I wouldn't go in t-shirts and stuff, but like I say, there's sometimes where it got pretty warm during the day, and then you have to put your jacket on at night.
Well, Joe, where's the next big adventure going to be?
I think I'm going to do some road trips in the United States and Canada, so see how that works out.
Nice. Love it.
Like I say, I like to go back. There's there's enough stuff to do again. Okay, go to the very bottom, go to Punta Arenas, further on south into the Straits of Magellan, Magallanes is what they call it. That whole area over there. So,
Well,
and of course, Iguazu Falls is another place I highly recommend.
love your adventure, Joe. Love the sense of adventure here. And thank you for sharing and taking so many
Oh,
photographs so
well,
we can understand it better.
yeah,
Yeah.
most welcome.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I think we've
I hope
answered.
everybody's motivated to get their uh, jackets ready and flying down there.
Love it. Well, thank you, Joe, once again for a beautiful presentation. Just beautiful. And transporting us to South America. Just a gorgeous place.